Hi guys, Granger here and welcome to another one of our videos. Today we'll be talking about some of the new latest Opus V spoilers. So these spoilers were put up online by Band's Final Fantasy Corner. He's a great guy, he shares a lot of content online, and he also does a weekly podcast called The Crystal Tower, so go check him out on Facebook. So here are the spoilers of what we'll be talking about today. Let's get started. So first off, we have Phoenix. It's a 7-cost summon. Choose a forward that costs 3 or less in your break zone, and up to 1 forward your opponent controls. Play the first dull on the field and deal the second 8,000 damage. So basically, at 7 costs, you are getting your value's worth. You are effectively getting a 4-cost summon, which is basically deal 8,000, and you're also getting a free cost forward from your break zone, put it onto field. It does come in dull, but this is an extremely cool card. It is a legendary, so it's one of the 2 fire legendaries of the set, and this card is a really powerful summon. I am super excited to try this card. So first of all, it's just like very good value in that you are getting 4 CP worth of damage, and you are getting a free cost forward. But the reason why this card is actually so good is because you're able to get one of your forwards at instant speed, or basically you can play it during any time. And this is what makes it really strong, because there's a lot of times where you could play forwards in response to your opponent's actions, and that allows you to sort of capitalize on them. So here's looking at some examples. So first of all, you can't choose any of the cards that you discard to pay for this cost. So unlike cards like Lena or Gao, you can't revive any targets that you spent to put them into play, because those are enter play abilities, whereas this is a summon. So do keep that in mind. But besides from that, there's so many great things that you can do with this card. So you can use cards that have discard effects. So putting in a lock or putting in Sarah allows you to discard one of your opponent's cards from their hand. Using a preventative type ability, so something like Remedy. So if your opponent is using, say, Devout or using a Golbez, something like that, you can always bring in a Remedy to hinder that. If your opponent is using Balanced card like a Sildra, then you could always use Ritz, put her back into play. You can always use Heroic Zidane to look at your opponent's hand. So in response to your opponent's Alcid, you can then use Phoenix, put in a Heroic Zidane, have a look at your opponent's hand, and if they only have one target for their Alcid, you can discard that card from your hand and effectively renders their effect like neutralized. There's also a ton of other great examples. You can also use it for combat. Putting in a Black Ward to give one of your opponent's forwards minus 2,000 power is good. Red 13 to give one of your own guys plus 3,000 power. Cagnazo. There's a lot of combat tricks that you can put in at instant speed. That's very, very good. And also just like straight up removal. So getting a legendary Vivi or a Strago or a Cloud, these are all cards that can come into play and kill usually a 3-cost, 4-cost forward. Being able to play that on instant speed is really good, and also allows you to play like certain forwards safely during your opponent's second main phase, such as a card like Dorgan, which is a card that requires it to come back to your turn before it's able to use its dull ability. In certain situations, you can just like during your opponent's main phase 2, cast Phoenix, deal 8,000 damage to your opponent's forward, and bring the Dorgan. By the time it rolls around to your turn, which is pretty safe, you'll be able to use its ability straight away. So Phoenix seems really, really strong, and I definitely foresee it being played in certain fire builds when Opus V drops. Next card is Sid Raid. So it is a 4-cost CP backup. EX burst. When Sid Raid enters the field, choose a dull forward your opponent controls, deal it 7,000 damage. So this is a very similar sort of backup cycle. So this card, Lightning, and Water all have a 4-cost backup that basically deals with a 3-cost forward. So in this case, instead of dealing with a 3-cost forward, instead of being like say Seymour, it deals 7,000 damage to a dull forward. But on the plus side, it does have the ability to EX burst as well. So the only major drawback to this card is that it is named Sid Raid. And Sid Raid as a forward is actually quite a popular forward, because being able to deal 4,000 damage to a dull forward and set them up to make your opponent discard a card is actually really quite good. This card also has a very similarly very strong ability as well. Dealing 7,000 damage is actually really good. It hits a lot of forwards. That's most 3-drops and like certain 4-drops as well. Depending on the metagame though, currently in the metagame there's a lot of 8,000 power forwards, so it might not be good in the current metagame, but depending on how strong the Opus V metagame and what sort of size of forwards it revolves around, it can be very good. Also the fact that its EX burst is also fantastic. Ice has a lot of ways to dull and freeze forwards, so even if your opponent isn't attacking with the biggest guy, there is usually a pretty good chance that you can EX burst this card onto one of the smaller forwards that you might have dull and frozen. So this card is really quite good. Only downside is that it is named Sid Raid, so ultimately players will have to determine whether they want the 2-cost Sid Raids or the 4-cost Sid Raids, and that's going to be an entirely meta decision as well. So this card, I really like it. I want to see it played, but it'll really depend on the metagame how much this card is played. Next, we have Mune. So this card is a really exciting card. It's a 2-cost win backup. When Mune enters the field, choose a character you control other than Mune. You may return it to your hand if you do draw a card. So this card allows you to return a character you control from the field back to your hand. So and you do draw a card if you successfully do this. Now, this card is really strong in that it allows you to replay enter field type effects. So in Wind itself, cards like Pain and cards like Bards are really good to recur. In other colors, such as if you were to play Wind Earth, being able to return Earth backups is really strong, especially since there's a lot of really strong Earth backups that are uniquely named. Cards such as Raban, Mustadio, Shantoto are the main ones, especially Shantoto. But the biggest issue is that after you play those backups, you can't play those backups again because they're on the field. So Mune allows you to recur those backups and you draw a card from it. So people probably would have played this card if it was just return a character card, but the fact that you get to draw a card off this as well is so good. So yeah, it's such a value play. Also, as a random side note, Legendary Van from Opus 2, he now has a good Wind backup that costs 2 that he can return back to his hand for good value. So this card will see like a lot of experimentation. Ultimately, like what sort of deck it sort of ends up being we'll have to see in the future. But right now, I think this card like very much is a card that sits similarly to where Magic Pot's at. So everyone sees a lot of potential for this card, but ultimately we'll have to see like what decks in the format will really want to sort of take advantage of this card. Next card, we have Heretic Knight Garland. So it is a 7-cost forward, 8,000 power. Brave, when Heretic Knight Garland enters the field, choose a backup your opponent controls of cost 4 or more and break it. So this card is basically giving you a 4-cost 8,000 power forward rolled in with effectively a Hecaton Care, like a 3-cost Hecaton Care. So what do we get when we roll these two abilities together? We actually get a card that's actually less like valuable. So as a 4-cost 8,000 power forward, you typically want your forward to have like more abilities than just Brave. And as a 3-cost Hecaton Care effect, you want it to be able to hit 3 and up. So this card, being a 7-cost forward, makes it more difficult or more expensive to play, and you would want to expect more value out of it. But unfortunately, you get less value out of it. Yeah, the fact that it's Brave doesn't really matter too much. Earth already has a really strong 4-cost 8k forward called Guy that's already got Brave and is really tough to deal with for ice decks. Garland doesn't have that ability, and being able to destroy a backup your opponent controls that costs 4 or more is not as good as you think. There are only really like 2 good targets in the metagame at the moment for it, and one of them is Devout, the other one is Kefka. There's really not many other 4-cost backups in the metagame that are seeing play, and Kefka doesn't really see that much play to begin with. Devout is going to be the main target you'd want to hit with this card. So that being said, Earth already has a great tool to destroy backups in Hecaton Care. Having this card in Earth really doesn't add that much to it. If this card was in, say, Fire or, say, Lightning, then definitely I could see this card seeing some sort of play. But in Earth, it really isn't that strong. And hitting 4 or more just doesn't hit the right numbers. You generally want to be hitting 3 or higher, because that way allows you to hit certain cards like Minwu and all those 3-cost backups that give forwards plus 1,000 power. So this card just isn't that good. I'm not super excited to play this card. Yeah, I think he's just going to be one of those like rare or common level cards that like we'll see play in pre-release but never really sees play outside afterwards. Next we have Elua. So Elua is a card with a ton of text. It is a 3-cost forward, 6,000 power. First of all, it has haste. Also, when Elua is chosen by opponent's summon or ability for the first time each turn, negate that effect. So that's a really strong ability. Basically, yeah, it makes it really hard to deal with him. And he's also got an S ability. Activate all forwards you control. They gain haste until the end of the turn. All your opponent's forwards lose 2,000 power until the end of the turn. So this is quite literally a game-winning, like, push the board type effect. This effect is so strong. Yeah, being able to give all your guys haste and reactivating them is really, really strong. This is going to be like one of those game-ending sort of plays, and all your opponent's forwards lose 2,000 power. You don't even have to pay any color for this. It's not a dull ability. It's simply an S ability. If I were to take a stab in the dark, I would assume that there's probably only this copy of Allure in the set. If there were 2 Allures in the set, then I think that this card would have too much potential to be used. As it is right now, this S ability is really strong, but like any sort of card with S abilities that only have 1 copy of itself, it will be very difficult to trigger off. But yeah, when you do trigger it off, you will get a lot of value for it. It can be relevant on both offense and defense, so having it on defense to reactivate your guys is good. And then yeah, making opponents forwards lose 2,000 power means you'll like reactivate your guys, you'll block their guys, and you'll probably win a fight. So it's almost always going to be good. If you just compare it to Sylph, reactivating all your guys and making opponents lose 2,000 power, it's just really, really strong. So if I were to play this in any deck, I'd probably play 3 copies of it. Yeah, the fact that it's haste also makes it like a really aggressive card, and the fact that it can't be like the first time it's chosen by its opponent's summon abilities really like disincentivizes your opponent from wanting to use removal on him. So your opponent has to have a blocker. If they don't have a blocker on it, then it's really, really hard to deal with this card. Your opponent has to effectively use like 2 like different effects in order to deal with this card. So this card seems really, really good. And all these spoilers, pretty much except for Gun, all seem really, really fun, and I'm really excited to be using them. So that's it for this set of spoilers. Thank you guys for watching. Like, what do you guys personally think of these cards? Let me know your thoughts or feedbacks in the comment section below. Yeah, I'll like read through them and I'll respond and give you like additional thoughts. Please, if you guys enjoyed this video, thumbs up and subscribe. It helps out with the YouTube algorithms, you know, all that great stuff. And also, I do stream Final Fantasy TCG online on a regular basis, so do follow me on Twitch if you guys want to drop by then. Otherwise, thanks a lot for watching, guys. Grand J out.